Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the growing divide between the Biden administration and Israel over creating a Palestinian state after the war. We'll get the story from Jerusalem. With Florida Governor Ron DeSantis out of the presidential race, now it's down to former President Donald Trump and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, with 1 day to go before the New Hampshire primary. The future of warfare is here now. Drones. We're going to show you how the U.S. Air Force is dealing with these important new threats. And want to lose those unhealthy extra holiday pounds? We're going to hear from one husband who lost 100 and his wife lost 50. Those stories and more today, right here on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin this half hour with the growing divide between the Biden administration and the Israeli government over what happens in the Gaza after the region. After the war, the White House keeps pushing for a Palestinian state, something Israel is rejecting. And at the same time, the conflict that began in Gaza is spreading throughout the region. Here's CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell.
On Sunday, Prime Minister Netanyahu rejected Hamas's demands for a deal to end the war. The terror group sought a ceasefire, the end of Israel's military campaign, and the release of Palestinians held by Israel in exchange for the remaining hostages.
If we agree to this, our warriors fell in vain. If we agree to this, we will not be able to guarantee the security of our citizens. We will not be able to return the evacuees safely to their homes. And next October 7th will only be a matter of time. I am not ready to put up with such a fatal injury to Israel's security, so we will not agree to it.
Netanyahu also denied a claim by President Biden that the prime minister might be open to some type of two-state solution.
My insistence is what prevented for years the establishment of a Palestinian state, which would have posed an existential danger to Israel. As long as I am prime minister, I will continue to firmly stand by it. If someone has a different position, let them show leadership and state their position honestly to the citizens of Israel.
Meanwhile, Iran's president vows to avenge Saturday's Israeli strike that killed 5 Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps leaders in Syria. The strike raises concerns of a wider war between Iran and Israel. The U.S. also struck a top Shiite leader in Baghdad, responsible for some of the more than 120 rocket and drone attacks on U.S. troops in Syria and Iraq. In the north, Israel warned that the window is closing for a diplomatic plan to push Hezbollah back from the northern border before it's forced to take action. Last month, they gave the U.S. the end of January as a deadline, but a report Friday noted they might give more time. On Sunday, the IDF released footage of a Gaza tunnel where it appears Hamas kept 20 hostages. The footage showing several rooms with mattresses on the ground, dirty dishes, and a bathroom, and a drawing from 5-year-old Amelia Aloni. The tunnel stretches for about half a mile and is more than 60 feet deep. 136 hostages still remain in Hamas captivity.
And Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem with more. So, Chris, many people are certainly focusing on Benjamin Netanyahu's opposition to a Palestinian state. But isn't that opposition widespread throughout Israel's government?
Not only the government, Ephraim, and especially after October 7th, but I would say most of the population really doesn't have an appetite for a Palestinian state. There was some there on the border of Gaza who were very much in favor of pro-Palestinian state. They were attacked on October 7th. They worked with Palestinians from Gaza. Many of them took Palestinians to the hospital. Many of those that lived in the kibbutzim on the border have had a change of heart. And I think that reflects much of what's happening in the Israeli population right now. Politically, and as you say, you saw that in Netanyahu, he's the one saying that he can prevent the U.S. and the international community from forming a Palestinian state because of the lot of pressure from the Biden administration and others that a two-state solution is the only solution after the war in Gaza is over.
Now, Chris, some analysts are arguing how they think a Palestinian state could be created. What is being said, and are these ideas regarded as feasible in Israel?
Well, first of all, they say they want to revitalize Palestinian Authority. They want a new entity. They're calling it, it's got to be credible, legitimate, effective Palestinian partner, that they would be representatives of the Palestinian people. However, Ephraim, polls show right now that the majority of the Palestinian people don't even support the Palestinian Authority. They support Hamas. So what these proposals do from the Biden administration, actually journalists like Thomas Friedman, they seem to disregard that most of the Palestinians in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria have these views. They actually want Hamas to lead them. And so most Israelis don't see this as credible, and they reject any kind of Palestinian or possible state like this. Some believe that Anthony Blinken, U.S. Secretary of State, and the Biden administration are either ignoring or not recognizing the facts on the ground. And as one expert here said, they're trying to make their vision fit reality instead of seeing reality and then seeing what's possible. The ones supporting a Palestinian state, they really see that as a solution to the major problems here in the Middle East.
Now, you just traveled to one of the kibbutzes where the October 7th attacks happened. Tell us what you saw.
Well, we went to a place called Kfar Aza, Ephraim. It was one of the 22 communities that were attacked by Hamas on October 7th, right on the border with Gaza. There in that kibbutz, you can see just about a mile away is the Gaza city. What happened on October 7th, they came and murdered more than 60 in that particular kibbutzim. As we were briefing by an IDF officer who took us around there, was telling us the stories of people being raped, sexually assaulted, some beheaded. And actually, she made the point, this was part of the first wave of terrorists who came on originally, but they were followed by regular civilians by Gaza, something that's really not reported much. They also raped, murdered, and sexually assaulted some of those people in the kibbutzim, like Kfar Aza. They also robbed and looted. And it's important to see what we did there in person, to see what happened in that kibbutz, because the denial of what happened on October 7th is increasing. It's on social media, and it's part of the conversation that that day never really happened. Perhaps it was artificial intelligence. But when you're there on the ground, you see a whole different reality.
Indeed. Now, you also went to a tree planting ceremony for the families of those murdered at the Nova Music Festival. Tell us about that.
Well, an organization called the Jewish National Fund, they plant trees here for decades. They hosted a number of the families that were murdered on October 7th at the Nova Music Festival. There were hundreds of Israelis that were murdered there, maybe almost 400. It was really sad, Ephraim, to see them crying, mourning, and memorializing their loved ones with these eucalyptus trees that were planted all the way through part of that grounds where so many died. They were really slaughtered that day, and they believe that this is one way to bring some comfort to many of those people there, bring some closure. But to see them there mourning their sons, daughters, sisters, brothers, friends, it was a very moving situation, very tender to see what's happening there for these many of these family and friends.
Our prayers continue. Chris Mitchell joining us now from Jerusalem. Thank you so much for your insight. Please stay safe. Coming up, with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis dropping out, now it is a two-person contest for the Republican presidential nomination. We're going to take a look at where the race goes from here. We've got the story when we come back. Stay with us. With just one day prior to the New Hampshire primary, the Republican race for the presidential nomination is down to just two, Donald Trump and Nikki Haley, after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis dropped out of the Republican presidential race and endorsed President Trump. CBN's Brody Carter looks at the state of the race.
While this campaign has ended, the mission continues. Down here in Florida,
once considered the top contender against former President Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis slumped to the single digits in New Hampshire after coming in second behind Trump by 30 points in Iowa last week. Sunday, DeSantis threw in the towel in a video on the social media site X, pledging his support for Trump.
He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents. The days of putting Americans last, of kowtowing to large corporations, of caving to woke ideology are over.
In a December interview with CBN chief political analyst David Brody, DeSantis seemed to acknowledge he couldn't overtake Trump.
I would say if I could have one thing change, I wish Trump hadn't been indicted on any of this stuff.
Because it's helped him, is that what you're saying? And so therefore...
It's both that, but then it also has just crowded out, I think, so much other stuff, and it's sucked out a lot of oxygen.
Is this Donald Trump country?
Trump secured another endorsement over the weekend, former Republican candidate and South Carolina Senator Tim Scott.
We need Donald Trump. We need a president. We need a president who will unite our country.
Now it's down to two vying for the Republican ticket. Nikki Haley, Trump's former ambassador to the UN, is questioning Trump's mental fitness after he seemed to confuse her with former Democratic Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi.
He went on and on, mentioned my name multiple times about the fact that I stopped people from being secure on January 6th. I wasn't in D.C. on January 6th. I had nothing to do with the Capitol.
She says it's not the first time he's referenced the wrong person.
He said multiple times that he ran against President Obama. He didn't run against President Obama. These things happen because guess what? When you're 80, that's what happens. You're just not as sharp as you used to be. This is not personal. Y'all know I voted for him twice. I was proud to serve in his administration. This is the fact that we have a country in disarray and a world on fire, and we need to know that we are not giving our kids options of two 80-year-olds going into a presidency.
Well, I don't mind being 80, but I'm 77. That's a big difference.
In New Hampshire, residents of the Granite State are carefully considering their choices.
Right now, I'm still up in the air because I want to see who is the best.
I'm not embarrassed to be an American like I was when his predecessor was in office. I will do everything I can to make sure that we don't have a repeat performance from our previous president.
Trump holds 50% of support among Republicans in New Hampshire. Haley, 39. Voters go to the polls on Tuesday. Brody Carter, CBN News.
Still ahead, from surveillance to rescue missions to warfare, we're going to bring you a look at how drones are changing the game both on and off the battlefield. We've got the story for you. It's coming up right after this. Both Israel and Hamas are using a new weapon in modern warfare, drones. U.S. Air Force leaders point to small drones as one of the top threats in combat. Mark Martin traveled to the top military site working on meeting this challenge. His report now from Grand Forks Air Force Base in North Dakota.
Russia's war on Ukraine is bringing drone warfare front and center, showcasing how these unmanned aerial vehicles are used for surveillance and combat. This footage, reportedly released by Ukrainian special forces, appears to show a drone destroying a Russian armored vehicle and tank. Then there's actually drone-on-drone combat. This video depicts a drone dogfight, reportedly involving equipment used for surveillance by Ukrainian and Russian armed forces.
There's very little protection in the way of anti-drone measures.
And it's not just in the air. Here you see what appears to be a Ukrainian sea drone attacking a Russian tanker ship in the Black Sea. At North Dakota's Grand Forks Air Force Base, they're not taking the use of drones lightly. The 319th Reconnaissance Wing's small UAS program is the first in Air Combat Command to utilize such a program with operators from multiple units.
You don't have to go far to go look at what's happening around the world, right? It is no secret what our adversaries are doing with these things.
Captain Matthew Kroll is the vice chairman for small unmanned aerial systems operations here.
These things can be weaponized and they can be used to hurt people and things. And unfortunately, what that means is we, as the Department of Defense and the United States Air Force, have to go out there and counter that threat.
One drone that airmen train on is the quadcopter-style Skydio X-2D. The Security Forces unit employs it to defend the base through perimeter scans or identifying threats from the sky. That use can also transfer to overseas bases.
That goes even beyond into the deployed missions that we serve, where our commanders are constantly under threat from the outside of the wire threat. those threats are immediately answered by this type of technology.
Senior Airman Tavi Efron operates the drone and says it's pretty impressive what they can do.
For instance, maybe active shooters. There's something locating an individual in that aspect to get eyes on, so somebody else who is in part of that mission control can see what's going on and maybe redirect us in ways that we didn't think on the ground could be done.
Kroll says they also use it for aircraft recovery training, and if required, could fly it to survey a crash site.
You would see whatever the camera sees on the aircraft itself.
Members of the aircraft maintenance unit gave us a demo of the Skydio X2D.
So I'm going to get a little bit of altitude here to get away from things. Change over to my waypoint mission. And then I'll just hit play, and then the aircraft does what it's already told to do.
Master Sergeant Matthew Roberts says using a system like this to survey and assess damages saves time, money, and resources.
It eliminates a lot of boots on the ground, in a sense, to do what we need to in a short time and capture what we need to without spending a lot of resources ahead of time to make the job and the mission happen quickly and safely.
There are actually 2 active-duty military missions involving unmanned aerial systems operating here at Grand Forks Air Force Base. In addition to the Skydio, which you already saw, another unit operates what's called the RQ-4, or Global Hawk. You're looking at the world's largest drone. The 348th Reconnaissance Squadron here flies the Global Hawk. The long-endurance aircraft can reach extremely high altitudes of 50 to 60,000 feet. Captain Mark Cochran remotely pilots the large-scale system that provides global day or night intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance.
The RQ-4 Global Hawk is a premier intelligence asset that is one of the only assets that's capable of giving such a long collection time without needing aerial refueling. And I feel like that's its biggest bring to any kind of AOR or combatant commander.
Brad Bowman of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies calls these drone systems fundamentally important to the U.S. military.
We really are, unfortunately, continue to be in an arms race against adversaries that are building drones. Obviously, Russia has drones. They're working with Iran on their drones. China is a major developer and exporter of drones. The country that has the most advanced drones, the right quantity of drones and employs them effectively, it's going to have life and death consequences on the battlefield.
And airmen at the Grand Forks Air Force Base are fully aware, describing this tech as a game changer in a time of war and another way Americans can feel safe. Mark Martin, CBN News, Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Want to lose some extra pounds you may have picked up over the holidays? We're going to tell you how one Christian couple lost a lot of weight. He lost 100 while she lost 50. We'll tell you how they did it right after this.
Download the CBN News app. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Watch CBN News Channel Live. CBN News, because truth matters. Get the CBN News app today.
It's common for people to pack on the extra pounds over the holidays and then they want to get rid of them. That is smart because doctors say maintaining a healthy diet and exercise is among the best ways to avoid getting deadly diseases. Here again is a story we brought you from medical reporter Lori Johnson, who introduces us to a man who lost 100 pounds and his wife who dropped 50.
Together, Jeff and Angela Jordan developed a love of running and in the process lost a combined 150 pounds.
We feel 20 years younger. We feel so much more energetic and active.
25 years ago, they developed a love for each other. Like many couples, over time, they gradually put on weight. At 5'9", Jeff tipped the scale at 264 pounds. And 5'3" Angela weighed 195.
I had actually gotten to the point where my wedding ring was cutting off the circulation to my finger, and I started to develop lower back pain just from standing and doing the dishes.
In an effort to exercise with accountability, they joined the Kempsville Running Club.
They asked us what our goals were, and we said, well, we're here for fitness. And they said, well, that's great, we'll help. They were just there for everybody, whether they were going to run an ultramarathon or whether they're just going to walk or jog to the end of the street.
Jeff and Angela say running brings them closer to God.
To go out on a run and put just worship music on and to surround yourself in that, and you feel like you've actually been to church and worshiped.
They initially thought they were too busy to exercise, but after hitting the road, have felt blessed with greater productivity in less time.
And I told God, I said, look, every step I take towards becoming physically fit, I want you to prosper it and bless it. And I feel like he has.
Soon after the Jordans started running, they wanted to get better at it and enjoy it more. That motivated them to change their diet.
I started to naturally gravitate towards the foods that were going to provide better energy.
Like whole grains, vegetables, beans, and fruit.
One of the things that I had discovered in all of the research was that 97% of Americans are deficient in fiber. And I found the more I migrated toward that higher fiber content actually translated to more weight loss.
Then the couple started counting calories.
If you take in less than you burn, you're going to lose weight. And you can see it in black and white. You see exactly. And I think with putting everything down on paper, there's no blind spots.
After a year, Jeff lost 100 pounds and Angela lost 50, along with her back pain.
One day I was just like, you know what, it's gone. I don't have to take the ibuprofen anymore. And look at this ring actually comes off now.
They hope their results and testimony inspire others.
I would say it doesn't have to be running, but find your exercise that suits you and pursue it.
Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Time now for your Monday Motivation, and today I want to leave you with this thought. Words from a very familiar song. All my life you have been faithful, and all my life you've been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God. Your goodness is indeed running after me. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I'll remind you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online. That is cbnnews.com. Take a minute. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. That address is newswatch@cbn.com. And you can talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We certainly would love to hear from you. Make this a marvelous Monday. Join us right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.